800,000 jobs. Keep that number in mind. The Environmental Protection Agency is pushing new rules to regulate, well, lots of things here, including farm dust and emissions from boilers that heat buildings. Opponents say the rule changes will cost the economy 800,000 jobs. Hundreds of thousands of jobs at a time. Unemployment is at 9.6%. Once again, this administration chooses policy over people. Why would we embrace new rules that eliminate jobs in the wake of the worst recession in 75 years? Jobs, growing them, not cutting them, should be a priority. But that's just my 2 cents, and this is the Willis Report. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jerry Willis. Republicans are preparing for a possible House takeover, and one of their first orders of business is a battle with the Environmental Protection Agency. As I said, at issue a series of new EPA regulations some GOP members are saying will send your job overseas. Congressman Joe Barton is a Republican from Texas and the ranking member on the House Energy Committee. Congressman, welcome. Good to see you.
It's always good to be on your program.
All right, so let's just start with what these new regulations are, because I think people are going to be really surprised when they see the list here. It includes new rules for coal ash, farm dust. I don't even know if there are any rules on the tables now for farm dust. New ozone standards. What do you make of this? Is this going too far? Is the EPA stepping over its limits?
Well, first of all, you need to know that Republicans support strong laws and strong enforcement for clean air and clean water. I voted for the Clean Air Act amendments of 1991. I'm the past chairman of the committee. I've held numerous hearings, moved legislation. So we're pro clean air and clean water. But the Obama administration and Lisa Jackson, the administrator at the EPA, seem to be taking a good thing and making it possibly into a bad thing, certainly in terms of the economy. The ozone standard that they have suggested would make almost every place in the country in non-compliance.
Wow!
And to put the ozone standard into some perspective, about 10 years ago, it was a 12 parts per billion averaged over at one hour at a time standard. The latest standard takes it down to either 5 or 6 parts per billion, and I'm talking billion. So, you know, ozone is an irritant. There are many people that are very sensitive to it and perhaps allergic to it, but it is not something that we have to take to zero.
All right.
The coal ash standard that you just talked about, coal ash is a solid. It's used, could be used in road construction. It's not a pollutant or a hazardous material in any normal definition of hazardous, and yet the EPA is attempting by regulation to classify it as a hazardous material.
Congressman, let me interrupt you here. The one on the list that I found really interesting, farm dust. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, I don't know what to say other than that anywhere you have farms and animals and agriculture, you're going to have dust. When you plow a field, you're going to create dust. When you have a farmyard with animals in it, you're going to create dust. It's a part of nature, and the EPA calls it particulate matter, and there is a generic standard for particulate matter. But getting to a specific standard for farm dust would tend to step into something that if you have to regulate it all, it's done at the state level, not the federal level.
Well, let me interrupt you here, sir,
and
I apologize for interrupting you, but one of the issues we want to get to with this is the impact on jobs. Why do you think it's going to cost so many jobs if these new regulations go into effect?
Because people will just shut down their businesses. This ozone standard could cost up to $90 billion per year for compliance. Well, at $90 billion to the economy, many businesses just shut down and go out of business.
All right. I want you to respond to something that Representative Shelley Moore Capito said. She said EPA Director Lisa Jackson told me that the EPA is not required and they do not consider jobs or economic impact when evaluating permits. You agree with this? Do you think this is maybe just obvious? Is it something they should consider?
Well, it's a half-truth. By law, on some of these health standards, the EPA is not required, is not mandated to consider the economic impact or the job impact. But having said that, it doesn't mean that they cannot consider it. And I would say, as they tighten these standards tighter and tighter, they should consider it, and that might be something that we attempt to legislate if the voters next week or a week and a half from now put us in the majority in the House and the Senate.
Well, I know people hate to hear about jobs being ended for any reason because the EPA comes out with new rules. I don't think that's going to go over very well. Congressman, thanks for your help today. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me say one final thing, and that's that our air quality is improving in the country and our water quality is improving. These new standards are not required to maintain existing air quality or water quality. Our air and water quality is excellent in the country, and it's getting better every year.
Congressman, thank you.
Thank you.